Biscuit mixing method. Preheat your oven and make buttermilk. You'll make the buttermilk by adding vinegar, a tablespoon, to a cup of milk. So the biscuit mixing method is a little different than the muffin method. First off, we have some different tools. This is a pastry blender. We'll use it to cut the fat into the mixture. And that's a biscuit cutter. It's kind of like a cookie cutter. So assemble 2 cups of flour. Your leavening, we're going to use baking powder and baking soda this time. Salt. There's a little bit of sugar in here. Now for flavoring. Today we'll use garlic powder and cayenne to give it a nice little kick. It's just a small amount, 1/4 teaspoon. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of give these a little mix, guys, to kind of move the, you always want to do that because you saw the salt that I added. If I don't do this mixing step and I cut the fat in, I could get little pockets of salt in some spots and then bites that would need salt. So you always want to give this a little mix first. Grant, is it about this biscuit demo? Did you go to the bathroom?
No, we're supposed to be in for 20 or 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay, so there's all of our dry ingredients. After you got all your dry ingredients, chunk up your fat. Today we're using margarine, but you could use butter or shortening. Cut it into chunks so it's easier to cut in. Grab your pastry blender and get to work. Just kind of work in a pattern, squishing the butter with the blades. I've added the buttermilk, and I'm sorry this is kind of off the screen, but I'm using a fork now. After you cut the fat in, put the pastry blender down. You're not going to use it again. If you use it here to mix your liquid in, you can develop too much gluten, and your biscuits will be tough and kind of hockey puck like. Like doing a mixing motion like this, I'm just kind of like moving around. Almost think back to your rice, how you kind of fluffed your rice. I'm kind of just pulling it all together, and see how it's becoming one piece of dough here?
Yeah, he is.
It's all kind of coming together, but it's still kind of lumpy like our muffin mixture was. Now I'm gonna add some cheese. We're gonna make a little workspace. Now tomorrow, when you get ready to do this next step, you'll want to make sure your counter is clean, but don't use the Lysol spray to clean your counter because then you're going to get Lysol in your biscuits. Make sure you're using like a soapy washcloth and dish soap. So the soapy washcloth has dish soap on it, and then rinse it so you're not getting a lot of soap and stuff into your baked product. Okay, I sprinkled a tiny bit of flour down. Honestly, don't put a lot. If you put too much, guys, you're going to dry out your baked goods. So you never want to have too much flour, okay? So I'm going to just tip this all out of the bowl, and then we're going to do just a little bit of kneading. Now, students go a little crazy with kneading. Pulling back with my fingertips, pushing out the palms of my hand, and then kind of giving it a quarter turn and doing the same thing. And I'm not putting all my weight into it. I'm not pushing really hard, Chris, because then it will get sticky and get all in between my fingers. So I'm just kind of pulling it back, pushing it down, and we only have to knead it a couple times, not very, very long, okay? Our dough, it's kind of turned out very nice. So you can use your rolling pin. Grab your rolling pin and roll to about 3/4 of an inch thick. Don't go too thin or your biscuits will be super crispy and dry. You want them to be nice and fluffy, and these will puff up a bit as they bake. Just kind of work back and forth with the rolling pin, and then you can cut it out. Work from the outside edges in. You don't want to cut it from the middle and then have a lot of space left over. Once you've got your biscuits cut, you can squish the dough back together and start cutting your next batch. Sorry if this makes somebody car sick, but here are my cut biscuits. I got 11. You should get between 10 and 12 for each batch. Then you're going to make a butter topping. Here I've melted 2 tablespoons, added some parsley and garlic powder. Clean your counter by scraping with the bench scraper. Put all this right into the trash, not the sink, please. Follow up with a soapy washcloth and towel. I'm so sorry we didn't get a picture of my finished biscuits. They turned out beautifully. After they came out of the oven, I used the pastry brush to brush some of that butter mixture on top. These are the strawberry shortcakes from a couple years ago. You guys will make these on Friday. So we'll do a savory biscuit tomorrow with the cheddar bay, and we'll do a sweet biscuit on Friday with the shortcake. All right, have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.